You cannot keep serving as if nothing has changed when dementia has already changed everything. Hey, Christian Care Companion. Welcome back to Dementia Caregiver Support for Christians. This podcast is for Christian dementia caregivers who don't know what to do when dementia changes everything. People hear a situation like today's and say, "That sounds exactly like my dad in the ministry caring for my mom. He's trying to keep his ministry going while dementia keeps closing the margins." And my answer is always the same. Let us sit down together and figure out what to do. That is dementia care decision advising, and that is what we actually do here. Each episode takes one real caregiver situation and brings clarity to where the decision actually lies, so you can move forward faithfully, knowing what to do in your situation. And if you find yourself thinking, "This is exactly what I'm dealing with," that's usually the moment for you to go ahead and schedule a DigniCare solution session. That is where we sit down together and sort out what to do next. The link is in the show notes, or go to thinkdifferentdementia.com and click on DigniCare Solution Session. Now, let me tell you about a moment where most caregivers don't know what to do. Today's conversation is with a Christian husband caring for his wife as her dementia advances. Today's conversation is with a Christian husband caring for his wife as her dementia advances. He has continued long-standing church ministry commitments, while caregiving limitations have quietly been narrowing what is possible. The problem is not emotion or fatigue, it's whether responsibility can remain indirect when reality has already changed. Now listen closely to today's episode. What has felt the hardest for you right now in your caregiving?
It's the tension that what I like to do because I retired, right? So not much work to do, but in terms of professional, but ministry serving, how much I like to serve, but then there's so much limitation now.
Okay.
So it's always tension. Like you feel like, is it what I'm trying to do, or does God trying to teach me, or maybe show me that's probably I need to scale down, but I don't know for sure. A lot of time, not very clear. So that's the
Okay.
one tension there for me.
Okay. That is wonderful context. Thank you so much for sharing. So if your caregiving felt easier for you in the next 6 months or so, what would be different? The burdens you're carrying, the conversations you have, the decisions you're making, or your own emotions or coping with emotions. Just pick one that stands out the most right now.
Yeah, pick one if I were to, is the uncertainty, or I'm still not very clear about all the financial implications moving forward. I like to plan ahead, but then I don't know enough yet. All
Okay.
those, I know a lot of resource, but I haven't dived deep enough to know all that ins and out, medical or just your own resource. And I know God is going to provide no matter what, but I still like to be prepared. So
Okay.
that's
So-
like 6 months. I like to be a little bit clearer in the
Okay.
past
So
financially.
what I hear is decisions.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So thinking about these decisions, because there were two. You started with tension about like ministry serving and limitations. And then the next part of it is like future planning, knowing what's coming or what to do. Which one of those two would you like us to talk about today?
Oh, I think that would be the first one because the
The
other one, I
first
think
one.
in time I will be clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can certainly help you in the community still. We can, you can, anytime you guys have questions in the community, you can actually type in some questions in there and I'm happy to address them.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So to think about, you said the tension between, and this is, I'm paraphrasing.
I'm only feeling the tension, not that there's actual
No, I
maybe.
understand.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get it. The tension, the emotional tension between, so
Mhm.
sometimes we get frustrated when our expectation of what things can be or what things should be and the reality are not matching. So what I heard you saying is you like to be very active in your church. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What kind of things do you help with in the church?
Currently, counseling as one of the counselors to student fellowship, college
Okay.
student fellowship, and then also in as a deacon in Christian education.
Okay. So pretty busy, right?
Yeah.
Now, how long, if it's okay for me to ask for some context, how long has your sweet wife been living with cognitive changes or brain changes?
I think started off as a mild about three, maybe 5 years even, and getting gradually into moderate in about a couple of years now.
Okay. And are
It's
you
it's a Alzheimer's
okay?
dementia. Yeah,
And what is your support? Do you guys have children?
we have one son. He is very supportive, especially lately.
Okay.
Engaged in decisions, and we talk regular basis. And
And
we don't live nearby, but he sometimes flies over from out of state.
okay. And is your church large enough that there are people who can help you by providing someone to stay with your wife so that you can?
Well, yes they are, but very willing to. However, um, uh, yes, it doesn't work very well because yeah, my wife is very kind of as a personality is in like a what do you call it, introvert kind, but not really
Mhm.
like to have or hang out with people, but even with but she likes all those people, but to come home to like stay for a long time,
Okay.
when we're talking about hours, two or something, but it's not. What we tried all that. Um, it works sometime, but most time does not.
Okay. Can I ask a cultural question?
Sure.
Are are you guys in a are you from China originally or
Yeah, we're from mainland China,
okay.
long time ago.
But you're not in a Chinese church or are you in a
We are
Chinese?
in the predominantly Chinese church,
Okay.
but we also have like different language, including English. Um,
Okay. The reason I'm
mm.
asking is because Chinese or Mandarin, it's Mandarin, correct?
Yes, you're right.
Mandarin will be her primary language, and as her brain is changing, having people who can communicate with her in Mandarin may help. So if you're in a Chinese speaking church, having people who still speak Mandarin may be able to bridge some of the gap.
Oh, this is what I've been talking about. I'm talking about the sisters where speak the same language.
Okay.
They
So,
come over, from a fellowship.
okay. So you
Yeah,
have tried some caregivers that speak Mandarin, and you said it doesn't always work well.
right, right.
Is there a particular thing that happens that makes it not work well, or can
Oh,
you explain a little more?
I think it's because unless you're not telling the truth. Otherwise, it says, okay, you like sounds like, oh, you want somebody to help me, and I don't need help.
Okay.
And that's, make her upset, right?
So she is telling you when people come to quote unquote
Yeah,
help her, that she doesn't need help, and it is obvious to you and other people that she does.
right.
Okay. So is it okay if I share with you a few ideas that you might consider?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
There is a period of
Okay.
time when
Mm,
as the person, as their brain is changing, that they are aware that things are different, but they cannot actually see how much help or assistance that they actually need, right?
Right.
So having a person come in and help them, to them, means
Mm,
nothing. Um,
right.
as well as you're very busy at the church, and that is wonderful. And I don't want you to stop doing ministry things and serving if we can find solutions for your wife.
Mm,
How
mm.
much can she be involved in some of the ministry opportunities? Obviously, not some of the counseling, but are there things that she can do with you?
Yes. We usually go to all the meeting together. She does not obviously contribute, but people already know, her
Okay.
situation, and then sometimes help her in
Okay.
that setting. But that's no problem. But still, she gets tired after the long meeting or something. That one a couple of times, the secretary actually, help her to engage her something else. You know,
Okay.
stuff like that, handcraft. So some another traditional background, we also goes to 2 days a week, each day about 5 to 6 hours in a local like a adult day program, like a memory care
Okay. So
unit.
she goes to a memory care about 5 to 6 hours twice a week.
Yeah, yeah, and
How,
that's about maximum she can do because like we tried 3 times a week. It does not. It gets tired, and she doesn't seem to be enjoying there either. So we're actually little. I'm a little bit of I'm hoping and praying that at least 2 days at work. It works for me. I
Mhm.
don't like to be 5 days because I don't like to be away from my wife for 5 days either for more.
I understand.
I worry too.
So you said something very important that I'd like to touch on. It was something that I actually mentioned to somebody else earlier this week. You mentioned about your wife not being happy about going to the adult day program, right? And something I want us to remember is that yes, we want the person that we are taking care of to be content. We want them to enjoy things as much as possible. And we also have to recognize that one person alone cannot do this. And her happiness or her contentment isn't the primary thing that we need to be keeping in mind. We have to keep in mind your ability to be able to provide care for her over an extended period of time, which means you have to be able to rest and have respite. It is a good and honorable goal for us to be able to have her be happy, but her happiness isn't the only primary thing we need to keep in mind. You're in a marathon over an extended period of time. And so yes, I want her to be happy, and I also want you to be able to have time when you have opportunity to rest. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about 2 days versus 3 days as you're thinking this through. What I would love to have you keep, this is a longer conversation and we can certainly
Mm,
continue with it. But the tension that you mentioned at the beginning
Yes.
between what you like to do, ministry and serving, and the limitation, I'm going to circle back to what I told Sarah earlier on. What happens is the reality and the expectations are not matching.
Right.
The reality is that you want to be able to do things and you expect, or the expectation is that you want to be able to do these things, and that her changes and things happening don't impact that as much. The reality is that it is impacting it. So as long as we don't have a solution for the gap, the frustration and the tension is always going to be there.
Right.
So how do we we have only two ways to get the reality and the expectation that you be able to do the ministry things.
Yes.
And the reality is those two have to get closer together or you're never going to not feel frustrated. So
Right.
your options are paid caregivers, even though she doesn't like them, even though she doesn't want them, so that you can do the other things. Or we have to, if that's not an option because of her response, then we have to start to cut back on the ministry things. Those are the only two things that can happen. Expectation is here. The reality is here. We have to bring the expectation down or we have to bring the reality up.
Yeah. Thank you. I've been thinking about the latter, which is bring my expecting down, and also the talking with our brothers, sisters,
Yes.
and even our pastor say, yeah, taking care of your wife is your ministry now. So
And that may be a conversation that you have with your church leadership. However, having said that, something I want to make you aware of is the following. It's not necessarily either or, because the research actually shows people who can maintain, and please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying church is a leisure activity. I know it's not, right? But it gives you an avenue of something that is still yours, which is what a leisure activity is, right? So a leisure people who are able to maintain these outside activities and continue to have their own needs met throughout a dementia caregiving journey actually come through it well, as opposed to people who give up everything to take care of the person. So I'm not suggesting right now that you stop everything and just say this is your ministry to take care of your wife. I'm suggesting how can we make the two work together for as long as possible for your own well-being.
yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Was that
Yeah.
helpful?
I'm thinking totally almost it stop, but cutting back a little bit. That's about thinking right now.
Okay. So what's one small step that you feel like you might be able to take this next week?
Actually, I've been in conversation with our counselors group to consider that.
Okay.
Step by step back a little bit.
Step by step.
Yeah, it's for this phase of life, and let other people take more responsibility.
Yes. And remember, it is a season.
Yeah.
We are in a caregiving season.
Yes.
It comes and it goes. It will end. But I am so grateful you're here. We even did
Thank
it
you.
while you were walking. I'm so excited. So
Thank you so much.
you
Yeah,
are
it's
very, very welcome. I'm very excited that you're here. In today's episode, the responsibility became clearer when we named the gap between expectation and reality. It became evident that ministry commitments can no longer remain assumed when caregiving limitations are already defining what is possible. The biggest issue is not whether we have emotions or devotion, but where the responsibility has to be carried and how that reorders decisions, conversations, and emotional strain. What has been clarified is that faithfulness in a dementia caregiving season requires alignment and not endurance or misfit. If you are struggling, go ahead and schedule a DigniCare solution session if you need help identifying where your responsibility now lives and determining the next ordered decision for you under Christ's authority. And as we end all of our episodes, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and I will see you in the next episode.